You are good. Why did you put these things on your lips? Which thing? Like there's no lip on my lip. No, there is, but you put black dots, black dots, black dots, black dots. No, no. I thought maybe it's makeup hack. Yeah, yeah.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with undaunted ABCAmbaNews on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution and Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing into the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way around.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. On Monday, Ambazonians were gladdened in their hearts when the president officially announced that he has just been awarded by the Black Caucus Foundation of Michigan for diligence and selflessness in community leadership. He promised to brief the nation on the details of this, its benefit, and how direct his mingling with the caucus could impact Ambazonians' diplomatic endeavors in her quest for freedom. Our question has been, what is this organization? What can they do? What have they done before and how? The Congressional Black Caucus, CBC, was established in 1971 to put forth policy and legislation that ensured equal rights, opportunity, and access to Black Americans and other marginalized communities. It is a non-partisan body made up of African American members of Congress. The CBC was created during the high points of the Black Power movement when African Americans wanted greater political influence and were gaining more seats in Congress. When President Nixon refused to meet with the caucus after its formation, the CBC boycotted the 1971 State of the Union, stating that Nixon's refusal to meet with them demonstrated the administration's disregard of African American interests. The boycott resulted in a lot of media attention, and Richard Nixon met with members on March 25, 1971. At the meeting, the CBC presented Nixon with 61 recommendations to eradicate racism, provide quality housing, and promote engagement of African Americans in government. The records at the National Archives regarding the CBC include legislative minutes, videos, and photographs of members meeting with the U.S. presidents, some members of Congress, and their constituents. So as you can see, they have the record of influencing the government through the Congress. As we wait for more details from the president tonight, in tonight's town hall meeting, it was captioned Special Town Hall. We have the prime headlines for you.
And these are the prime headlines for today. Today we are going to be looking at the conditions for the release of Brits abducted in Chang as they get unveiled. Now, former Amber fighters demonstrate in Boya against the delusive promises from the colonial La Republique de Cameroon as a failed regime. Also today, fire for fire, power resumes after the grandiose Independence Day celebrations in Bui and neighboring counties. Also today, we will be giving you this report that states that the interim government is not part of any gathering in Canada.
The Amber World Draft Award 22 is here. People, it's time to win again.
This is the time for us to draft until we draft. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions.
Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day? While our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers?
Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the home front?
Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communication equipment to maximize their efforts?
Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics?
Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy?
On a daily basis, how much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through the fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country?
Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical, intelligence, and other special operations across the national territory?
As we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Amazonia die as a wish because we failed to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting a great people.
The World Draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No greater victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depend on that.
It is Award 22. Let us draft until we drop.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
As earlier reported by Undaunted on the evening hours of Friday, September 16th, 2022, St. Mary's Catholic Parish in Nchang Village, Mamfe, was burnt down with 8 faithfuls kidnapped, 5 priests, 1 nun, and 2 lay faithfuls. These persons were taken to an unknown destination and the perpetrators were not known. Right Reverend Mosaino Alosus Fungang Abangalo, the Bishop of Mamfe, in his statement after the arson and kidnap, said it was orchestrated by Christians of that parish whose sons of Ncheng village. Archbishop Andrew Inkia, president of the Bamenda Provincial Episcopal Conference, in a communique of Saturday, September 17th, simple styled the perpetrators as gunmen. A letter addressed to Pope Francis has cleared the air on who the perpetrators are. Freedom fighters in Mamfe carried out the act, and they have laid down conditions that should be met for the release of the 8 kidnapped. It is possible for the church to openly denounce the activities carried out against the people of Southern Cameroon. Now, this is where we will begin the full briefings of Undaunted tonight. I am Onyi Okbalan. Stasmar is here as always. Good evening, Star.
Good evening, Onyi. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians. Now, this is a letter signed by a pseudo-General Iroko and addressed to Pope Francis. It says, Pope Francis, Bishop Bibi Michael of Boya, Bishop Inkia Mikhail of Bamenda, Bishop Aloysius Fondong of Mamfe, parishioner of the Catholic Church. Dear Pope, we greet you in the name of the Lord. We are certain you have heard about the seizure of some of your members, your church members in Nchang under the Mamfe Diocese. This is due to some of the grievances we will list below. Your failure as the head of the Catholic Church to empathize and condemn the repression, oppression, wanton killings by the military of the Republic of Cameroon, who has been killing our people. The meeting of your Archbishop with the head of the military of the Republic of Cameroon, who has been killing our people, burning our homes, raping and molesting our children and women. In all of these, you have never made a statement. Such silence is complicit to such diabolical act. In the face of oppression, silence is complicity. You have taken the side of the oppressor. If our memories serve us well, Jesus came to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind to set the oppressed free. Have you not heard? And did you not know that we are dying? Have you not heard? And did you not know that we are being oppressed? The sky has been our only covering, and the grass has been our only bed for the past 5 to 6 years now. For that reason, we don't have too much time to wallow in oppression. We are not in any way organizing a pity party, but we want a swift response. Otherwise, God should be ready to receive his own Our conditions are thus: 1. We need you to make an open acknowledgement of our struggle and suffering. 2. We need the Archbishop to apologize for holding a meeting with the oppressive general of La République du Cameroon to plan for our demise. 3. We will require a prisoner swap with the release of our Naira 10. Please consider this our last letter to you. If you are ready to talk, we will assign someone we trust to talk for us.
All right, and the letter continues to say, until then, we thank you so much for the freedom fighters, General Iroko of the Ambazonian people. Now, for the records, the kidnappers, after the incident, demanded a sum of 30 million francs CFA for the release of the faithfuls. The Catholic Church, via the Archbishop of Bamenda, outrightly made it clear that no franc would be paid as ransom. The Pope equally made a statement calling on the unconditional release of his Christians.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Three years after the failed major national dialogue, which was nothing less than a national monologue, all the ruling of CPDM come together, former Amber fighters have been licking their wounds, having realized too late that the colonial La République du Cameroon genocidal government in Yaoundé had dumped them with fallacious promises.
Now, from the videos emanating from the protest, we can say that these men were misguided. This young man set out fresh outbursts of anger at the regional center of the National Committee for Disarmament, Demobilization, and Reintegration (DDR) of Boya branch, where they voluntarily went for self-imprisonment since 3 years, saying they are tired of waiting for their reintegration into civilian life. They demonstrated on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022, in what they termed the slowness of the process of social reintegration, which Yaoundé had promised and from which they must benefit. According to a spokesperson for these misguided miscreants in Guni, Celestine Yannick, the problem is not the money, but the length of our stay at the center. These DDR inmates want their reintegration into society. They say we are tired of staying in this environment for all this time, all these years. The major national dialogue, explains Nguni Celestine Yannick. He added that the budget allocated for the Boya Center is 130 million francs CFA, from which they inmates didn't enjoy anything from. Well, let's hear him.
We are here on behalf of the figure that we heard previously, that's a day back, concerning a 130 million that was signed. That's the project. It was signed based on the budget for GGR to be controlled. It was signed 3 days back. So we were astonished. We were very surprised. How come we are here suffering? Every day our children are not going to school. We are not even doing anything here, like no trade, no nothing, nothing. We are stuck in the same place every day. So we wanted the government to give us a clear case is how that 130 million was being spent. And in addition to that, we have been here for long. It's going to 4 years. Some of us have been here. 3 years. Some of us have been here. No avail. Are we going ahead or are we going behind? So that's why we are imposed on the government. We are asking them to please. We are suffering here, in order for them to send their aid, to send their foreign aid, for us to be removed from this dungeon, because here is a dungeon. We have to be removed from this dungeon and reintegrated to the society. So that's just what we have.
Now, this is not the first time that inmates of the Boya and Bamenda DDR centers have been made noisy. Now, in 2021, They had demonstrated 3 times in 3 months because promises made by the failed Yaoundé regime were only a bait and too fallacious. We have heard one of the casualties of these traps set by La République du Cameroon, Nambere, lament time and again. Now, the National Dismemberment, Demobilization and Reintegration Committee, CNDDR, was created by decree of the President of the La République du Cameroon on November 30th, 2018, and placed under the authority of the colonial prime minister with headquarters in Yaoundé.
Now, its first regional centers were created in Bamenda, Boya, and Mura. The committee's mission is to organize, supervise, and manage the disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of ex-combatants of Boko Haram and armed groups in Ambazonia wishing to respond favorably to the fake peace offer of the colonial dictator Paul Biya by laying down their arms. It is headed by a former colonial governor, Fayengo Francis, and it's unfortunate that it hasn't been fulfilled so far.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, this is just a special information just to let you know that the Zoom space for the special town hall meeting with the president is now open. And so everyone who is supposed to be part of that Zoom meeting is encouraged to begin to join the Zoom meeting right about now because it's going to be a very special Zoom meeting with the president. So please, everyone is encouraged to join the meeting. The news continues.
Now, moving on, we are aware that Cameroon via Dion Ngute contacted the Canadian High Commissioner to Cameroon and pleaded with him to convene a gathering of Anglophones in Toronto. In the said soon-to-be gathering, if and only if it's going to hold, La République du Cameroon's director of Boya Bay Safam will represent them. In this meeting, it said that attendees are going to be talking about local governance and special status in Northwest and Southwest, using Quebec as a good example in Canada. The whole thing is not gaining the traction they had expected, especially from the international community. If it's still being envisaged to hold, it will be a second Grand Debate National. If you don't want to call it Grand Debate National 2, called CDN Toronto 2. Its membership is made of Agbobala Omam Esther, John Mba Akuro, Cho Ayaba, Archbishop Nkea, traditional rulers, and more.
Now, new entries are likely going to be Christopher Anu, Bo Herbert, Abdul Karim, and many others. Now, it is said that the IG was approached and their response was, "We aren't part of any such gatherings." The High Commissioner was reminded that the IG is ready to meet Biya when they are ready for what I will call a country versus country mediated negotiation with a consensual third party designated by the two warring countries. That is Cameroon and, of course, Ambazonia. Now, Thursday, IG is not interested in some Cameroonized gimmick or something like their Grand Large Diba as they have been doing in Cameroon. Ironically, Cameroon cannot withdraw from the internationally endorsed Swiss-led mediation process and is supiniously using a Canadian to organize a fake gathering of their allies. Now, they might have successfully deceived our forebears then, but now we are the never again generation. So, this jamboree of a 2022 Toronto retreat has nothing to do with the IG.
Now, updates from Bowie County, reaching undaunted on October 4th, 2022, say another powerful improvised explosive device IED rocked the center of Kumbo town again early this morning. The people of Tobin in Kumbo local government area are in total panic after waking up to thunderous gunshots and two large explosions, one coming about 45 minutes after the first detonation.
As I pressed time, the number of casualties had not been tallied, but from the magnitude of these explosions, the number of the dead and injured could be high, very high. Now, the Ambazonia Restoration Forces ARFs of Bowie County, under Major General Talk and Do, are celebrating this successful mission and are asking all Ambazonia Restoration Forces to step up their game. He says we cannot thank them enough for their services and sacrifices for our great nation.
You all know Bowie, being a hot ground for La Republic du Cameroon, would show that so have their neighboring counties been as well. Boyo, in the same light, have shown intense resistance against the colonial military burning the midnight oil to ensure there is no invasion of the county by any trespasser. Here we have a video of the Armed Restoration Forces of Boyo, headed by Supreme General Inye and Brigadier Gola, keeping the enemy off Amber territory, doubling force just after the Independence Day celebration. Here is a video about it.
We don't walk that bush beat them. And enough for them, and enough for them. We don't scatter all thing. We don't scatter all thing. We don't send them for inside water. Now them that we don't send them for inside water. Hey, hey. We don't send them for inside water. All thing we don't scatter all thing for them. And then that.
You have seen it for yourself that these grounds are hot for La Republic du Cameroon military. Worthy to note that the Boye warriors under Major General Talk and Do did spectacular celebrations of Ambazonia Independence Day last October 1st, 2022. Not forgetting Boyo that had an elaborate and magnificent Independence Day celebration infused with interesting displays and so many smiling faces were seen. Now, let's take a look at that video.
There are bullets, there are issues. We have present here today on the 1st of October 2022 in Boyo. This is Boyo today. You can see how the civilians are all happy. They are all happy. They are all happy. There was an independence. Let's go the full session. And as we look back at because the energy, the population, the civilians are going higher than ever. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see that what I'm going to say and the people that positive answer. The command of the with all the generals of Boyo, all present here in Bello today. All present here today. At the municipal stadium. Thank you very much, Okada. Thank you. The soldiers are about to display.
Like we said, a lot of smiling faces. Well, in another development, the colonial mayor of Kumba, Gregory Ntemoyok Mewanu, has said he is tired of sealing shops when their owners choose to respect ghost town days. He says the people have suffered enough and should now be allowed to open their businesses on Mondays instead of living in fear. Quote, I am tired of sealing over 235 shops every Monday and seeing the people of Kumba suffer. I am out now to encourage everyone to keep fear aside and take Monday as an active day.
All right, he says, I am pleading with the boys and the bushes to lay down their weapons and give us our lives back. Now, there are many dynamics and dimensions to the story. The first is the fact that the people are not intimidated by colonial administrators. They are not. The second is ghost towns as a collective agreement between Ambazonians to resist colonial rule, determination, and many others. And of course, the third is that they are proving that the colonial administrative framework is in Ambazonia is failing. And so their request would definitely never be granted. And, let's see how much force they will continue to push in. And that is it for Undaunted tonight. Now, it was a very special brief one because of the town hall meeting with the president. Well, I'm sure that you all have already started joining in the Zoom meeting because it's highly important that you do so. Remember, all of this is to create a better future for the next generation and even for us. All right, see you next time on Undaunted News. I am Oni Opala.
And I am Star Smart. Good night and God bless you.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Yeah, thank you very much, Onye and Star, for that wonderful news briefing there. Thank you. In a few minutes, we'll be connected with Barrister Team and a few others, most probably, so that we start beaming the air before having the president address the nation this evening. You've heard the undaunted ladies give to us some details and briefings on what the Black Caucus is all about. Amazonians are already tripping into the Zoom meeting because they would like to have this discussion. They want to have some clarity on some things. So there are lots of debates we'll have here this evening with Barrister Team in preparation. The president hopefully should be in the Zoom meeting in the next, on top of the hour. This is about 8 minutes after 8 p.m. in Buea in Moliko. For those of you watching us on Facebook and on YouTube, we'll be starting a brief discussion with Barrister Team and a few others in just a few minutes. And our discussion will be centered on the debate of special status, on the debate of the second or part two of the Canada conference, and also a video that just stripped in on the social media. I saw a comment from Barrister Tim Biseha. I thought that it would be important for us to bring him on board so that we continue it on air, owing to the fact that that debate is directly related to the plight of the peoples of Amazonia, and his opinion uh, to my view was necessary. So we will continue the discussion. Lots of people are joining in the Zoom. As you join in the Zoom, just sit down, enjoy yourself, invite somebody. You can also locate the Zoom link, invite somebody and share it very widely. We are yet to get clearance from the office of the president if the town hall will be streamed live or on Facebook and YouTube, but that request has been made. Hope soon as possible we will have clearance if we can stream it. But that notwithstanding, be rest assured that we will have your back. The Zoom you even if you join the Zoom, you're not missing out on anything that is being streamed right now, because whatever we're streaming here, it's also streamed live on the Zoom. And the feedback we're getting is that the sound is amazing. This weekend, Ambazonians will be gathering again after a week of break, a week of celebration, to draft Ndian County. Ndian is a very sensitive area. It's one of the reasons why Cameroon would rather kill every soul in Ambazonia, because of its wealth. Ndian is breadbasket in southern Cameroon per se, even though southern Cameroon, in a broad-based view, is rich in natural resources and human resources across the board. But Dian is specifically rich in the black gold, what people fighting for. I'm talking about fuel. Fuel prices have escalated globally, and it's intriguing to see when people like the Secretary of State for Communications and ID tell us that in the years ahead, fossil fuel will be outdated or will be not necessary. There is no need fighting to kill a soul. So what dimension will La République be taking when Indian will be irrelevant for what they're fighting for? Or what dimension will the people of Amazonia actualizing their independence be taking if that was all they were fighting for? This is a discussion that can only be enhanced on this platform, the People's Platform. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Barrister Tim. Let's ensure that he is connected.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best.
Fellow citizens of the world,
arise and shine.
Arise
for my people,
for Ambazonia.
Stand up for the oppressed.
Arise and stop the war now.
We are referring to all Black people scattered around the globe.
For men and women of color, the statistics of mass killings in our U.S. communities are alarming.
We cannot underestimate the power of our connections. Our history as Black people is intricately linked. We have been subjected to violence, mass killings, and dehumanization due to racism and black-on-black violence.
Have you ever been in a place where 2-month-old babies are killed with live ammunition? Where babies are fried in hot boiling oil?
Our guns, turned at each other, are cutting our destinies short and bringing untold misery to our families and friends.
These are the realities of my homeland.
The question is, can politicians and celebrities do something to end mass killings?
The actual lives lost to these mass murders, does it bother you? Does it bother your humanity? Then you, senators and governors, can help turn our whispers into a roar.
When we the people, as millions of united, passionate, loving people, blend our voices together as one voice to send a booming message to leaders throughout the world that we will accept no more killings, brutality, or tyranny. We will end mass killings.
On October 1st, 1961, the former British Southern Cameroons was recolonized by France through its proxy, La République du Cameroun, which remains a colony of France to date. After decades of marginalization, President Biya of La République du Cameroun waged war on the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, also known as Ambazonia, on November 30th, 2017.
If you take a closer look, it is France supporting and sustaining these wicked acts because of the natural resources of Ambazonia.
Recently, we lost the longest ruling monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. She's being revered for her personal achievements for Great Britain. In Africa, she's being remembered for some very dark period of Britain's relationship with colonial rule, her failure or negligence to right those wrongs.
As the world mourns Queen Elizabeth II today, perhaps for her good works, our nation, Ambazonia, mourns her unfinished business, the botched decolonization of our territory, the root cause of the genocidal onslaught today. Is it not globalization that is preached to us every day? Was it not globalization that spoke out for Ukraine? Why is it that the same globalization is not at work to save the lives of Ambazonia?
Rise up, men and women of God's creation.
Please join in the movement to end this unwarranted violence and mass killings.
Be an advocate for the movement of change for peace and justice.
You, Mr. and Miss Senator, and governors can whisper a loud message to President Biden to go after the truth. We will cover you with our prayers.
To save the world from destruction, to close the inequality gap within and amongst countries.
This is a movement, a call to action.
Join the movement.
Visit and sign the petition on change.org. Stop mass killings in Ambazonia and the world.
10 voices for the voiceless.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Black Lives Matter. It's been less than 1 year in Ukraine, but we see CNN in Ukraine. It's been 5 years in Amazonia. We see no CNN. It's been 45,000 villages burned to the floor. We see no CNN. It's been 130 refugees scattered all over. 130,000. 130,000. We see no CNN. Why will we let the Chinese come to tell what belongs to you all?
We won't.
It is time we come together and say no.
No, hell no.
Black people, we have a right to a continent that belongs to us. Africa is the richest continent on earth. That is what you came from. It belongs to you and your ancestors. It belongs to all of us. It's not Dr. Sako's fight alone. When I saw my sisters spoke, it touched my heart. Because as black women, we're powerful.
Yes, that's right.
We don't only nurse babies, we work.
Yes.
We cook and we clean.
Yes.
And we say no to oppression.
Yes.
Your own nephews that you might not know are being murdered everywhere. Your own nieces that you might not know, your Amazonians, are being killed every day. But no one speaks about it because they're black people. We cannot live in oppression all our lives. In America and in Africa, where you belong. How can France own minerals when they don't have mineral resources? How can Queen Elizabeth die with gold when they will not die more mines? I want to make sure you know, one of the statues that we fought had to be returned belong to the people of Amazonia. It was stolen from the Afro-Con people.
That's right.
Your land, your people. Dr. Sako is not here for anything else but to say, let's come together and fight.
Let's fight. All right.
We have fought for generations. I came to this country when I was 20 years old, lived in Alabama, saw Ku Klux Klan. But as a black girl, I learned not to surrender.
Good evening, fellow Amazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome back to this very important broadcast. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, and as you know, we are actually waiting to talk to Barrister Tim Behesa on some of the issues you've just watched there. Like I was telling you earlier on, Amazonians are already logging into the Zoom meeting, and we're making sure that everything is appropriate. When you log into the Zoom, just make yourself comfortable. The stream on Facebook and on YouTube will automatically and immediately the president joins the Zoom, or when the office of the president cues us to start the Zoom meeting, we will automatically stop the streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. But then you can still join the Zoom, and whatever we're streaming now will be there for you to enjoy. That notwithstanding, I will still try to see if I can get Barrister Tim. He just indicated that he's finding challenges from his end to connect. So let me see if I could get him for your enjoyment.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Fellow Ambazonians, I want to thank all of you for a very, very successful outing on the 1st of October 2022 to make a clear statement to the world and to our oppressors, our enemies. But tomorrow, Thursday, the 6th of October, is a very important town hall meeting. I want to have a time with you, and the interim government has a lot to tell you and to listen. I'm inviting everyone, those who love us and those who don't, those who support us and those who don't, every Ambazonian with the blood of Ambazonia flowing in his veins, you are invited to tomorrow's town hall, because this is Ambazonia. It's not about me. It concerns us. I want to tell you what I can tell you for now concerning our strides in the international community, with the international community where we are at this time. I want to answer some of your hard questions that have been channeled to me recently. I want to explain certain things to you. I want us to commune together. So let's come with our questions. Let's come with a listening ear, and let's make sure we gather. Tomorrow is going to be at 9 p.m. Amber time. Make sure you share this audio, share it with your friends. Even the members of the international community are all invited. Everyone is invited. Ambazonia is free. God bless you, and God bless our beautiful country.
And if one make this one moon know very well, say if una check na for kiwi or go make this struggles end. The moon are checking a different style, because for we will finish, you know, we'll be in a play. Because all that run up and down, when they don't go here, when they come back, take blood money, we have not say one bit today, we all we don't finish.
A place day, as a lot una. For na front, I see the fix the cap, na general the only brother. For corner, na colonel Obanje. For back, na born to live with flag for your neck. Them plenty, you see Commander Rambo. You see, them plenty, I'll call who left na who. Now picking them this way, una don't kill them all. Person wey hold this camera, na general fire. And person wey dey talk for a corner, na Sagon. We decide today, this 1st October, in that 2022, say we go sing na only anthem. But we don't decide, say no. We want to make something. Make la Republic be high for way if it boss. We want to jubilate. We want to dance. We go zen. Make them see am say power day. We get power for our skin for fight at any time. And I either one I go see am as they jubilate. Over to you people.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day, 5 years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia. This solemn act of restoration was our collective resolve to finally terminate 6 decades of annexation, colonization, and subjugation by our eastern neighbor, La République du Cameroon, which had held us in a chokehold all this while. Some enlightened leaders had attempted to do this in the past for the people. Individuals like Fon Gojidinka and Justice Alobwede, but without groundswell support. This time, the people decided to do it for the leaders. That's why this is the people's fight. Several attempts by our forebears to release us as a people from this stranglehold were either ignored, ridiculed, or violently suppressed. Many of them were assassinated, and some died in dungeons, serving life sentences handed down to them by La République du Cameroon colonial kangaroo courts, if they were lucky at all to have their day in court. As I address you today, more than 50,000 of our compatriots, mostly civilians going about their daily lives, have been massacred by French Cameroon. Going by these figures, on average, at least 27 of our citizens are massacred every single day these past 5 years, meaning more than one Ambazonian is killed every hour from the day we restored our independence. Putting this in perspective, before I finish addressing you tonight, at least one Ambazonian civilian must have been summarily murdered by French Cameroon soldiers, just for being Ambazonian. This genocidal war declared on us by the 90-year-old dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017 is raging, and our people are going through this horror in pain. and in plain sight while the world watches on. This is our reality daily. Let us on this solemn national occasion remember all our fellow compatriots who have been killed during these 6 years of resistance, our self-defense forces who volunteered to take the front line to defend our people against this barbarism, and the thousands of innocent civilians massacred, some burnt alive in their homes. A moment of silence, please. We all lay our wreaths on the graves we know, and for all our innocent ones abducted, killed, and buried in unknown graves, we say rest in power. Permit me to say Happy Independence Day to you all, Ambazonians. I invite all the nations of the world to join us as we celebrate our Independence Day as scripted on the charters of the United Nations. Unlike any other.
Once again, you're welcome. Congratulations to every Amazonian for celebrating this very special day. We finally have managed to have Barrister Tim Beseha, our very special analyst on ABC Amber TV. He comes during very critical times when we have serious debates, I would say strong debates to enhance. And today's a very special one. We're going to be tackling, we have a few minutes to do that, about 30 minutes to enhance this discussion before we hand over to the officials in the Zoom to take over and listen to the president. Remember, the president is asking you all to come and ask your questions, and he will be there to give answers. Barrister Tim, you are welcome. Thank you for joining this broadcast.
Thank you once more. I'm back here. I hope somebody will learn something from our discussion.
Yes, I saw your comment on one of our platforms in reaction to a complaint by Black, I'm sure possibly in the Congress or perhaps in the UK. Even before we get into that, you're aware of Dion Gute arranging another talk in Canada. That's quite interesting, don't you think so? Perhaps Cameroon is increasingly showing their interest when it comes to discussions. Now, the problem with Ambazonia is the form of discussion. That's why you're here. Talk to us, please.
I think we have to agree that we don't have the power and we don't have the interest in where Dion Gute for himself or for his government organizes his talks and wherever. As a human being, as a Democrat, he has the right to organize whatever thing he wants, wherever he chooses. But if we were to be involved, and to be involved as Ambazonians, we have to be, and there are conditions under which we can go into that. I don't know whether Dion Gute is organizing a conference in Canada or not. I don't know where there's even one. I cannot stand here and say that. Maybe the president knows that. I don't have an idea. But again, there have been talks about this thing everywhere. There were the Grand National Dialogue. Before that, even there were talks in Bamenda. There were talks in Boya. There were talks everywhere, and there have been talks everywhere. In fact, there were talks in Fumban. And here we are. So talking is not enough. We don't lack talking. What we lack is the substance and the results of the talking. That is the most important thing. We cannot tell Diongute, we cannot tell Macron, we cannot tell Biden, whoever they want to talk to, not to talk to, they are free to do what they want. But if they want to talk to us, they are free to talk to us. I would have our own conditions for talking to them. As simple as that.
You know, I just like the way you put it. If every Amazonian could see it from that vantage point, there will be no need for the uproar that we're having on the social media. Those for them John Abkurus excited about that such talks. And Barrister TBC are just telling us on our own conditions. I wish they understand that it's supposed to be in our own conditions and not trying to use clandestine means purportedly representing us. Well, we will get back to that. But this video, I'm sure not everybody would have watched. You watched this video and your reaction was quite intriguing. Let Ambazonians also watch this 4 minutes video, and so that we can judge together, analyze it in link with our story.
From this parasite that bleeds Africa, that bleeds the world, that bleeds Afghanistan, that bleeds the people of Yemen who are dying by the thousands even as we have this discussion. This is the basis of a Brexit. It can't stand together anymore because the host is rejecting the parasite. And it's creating crisis throughout Europe and throughout the imperialist world. I think it's necessary, brothers and sisters, to say that there has been a natural trajectory by African people for closer union. We know that we're talking about having this discussion in part because in 1884-85, Europeans sat at a table in Berlin, Germany, not a single African there, and carved up Africa into the territories that we now sometimes call countries and illogically refer to as nations. Africans didn't do that. It was Europe that did that. It was Europe and imperialism that required Africa to be divided so that the resources of Africa, both human and material, could come and pave the streets in London and grow the buildings in Amsterdam and bring clean water to New York, while the streets in Sierra Leone are not paved. And the people in Sierra Leone do not have clean water. And there's no national electric grid there. It is necessary to keep Africa divided by European imperialism and by all the imperialism in order to continue to suck the resources from Africa so that cell phones could exist here, so that Steve Jobs and the others could achieve some great notoriety from the coltan that comes from Congo, where Leopold killed at least 12 to 15 million Africans in order to conquer and keep Africa in the condition it's in today. We talk about a united Africa and African Union because of what European imperialism has done to Africa to keep us divided. We know it's true. We saw 100 years or so ago, Marcus Garvey organized the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities Leagues that stretched across the globe. More than 11 million African people everywhere were connected to this. Africa for Africans, at home and abroad. That was the cry. Not Africans for Nigerians that didn't even exist until the British created it in 1915. And Flora Shaw, the mistress who would become the wife of Frederick Lugard, came up with the name nigger area. Not this false national consciousness that has been imposed on Africans around the world, so that when the Portuguese found shrimp on West Africa and then named it for the Portuguese word for shrimp, Cameroon. It is not true that they are shrimp despite the fact that the people call themselves Cameroonians today. It is a false national consciousness. The false national consciousness that created the American Negro, that created the Black Brit, the Afro-Swede. We are one Africa, one nation, and we must have closer union. But in order for that to happen, it has to be a revolutionary union. The Organization of African Union, created on May 25th, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, was part of an effort to circumvent efforts by Kwame Nkrumah to build a single union of African states. And instead we come up with an Organization of African Union that codified the colonial borders that were created by Europe in 1884 and 85. We have to be able to break out of this, but it's going to take revolution in order to do this. African revolution in order to do this. African revolution that will destroy imperialism and the world economy that's responsible for the growing immiseration of the masses of people around the world. Uhuru.
Barrister Tim, in fact, he enticed the entire room and everybody clapped. But from your comments and the background, I don't want to read it because I like you to say it. It would appear if you were in that hall, you wouldn't clap.
I wouldn't clap. First, two things are there. You see, before I describe who that guy is, he's talking in the British Parliament, I guess. And his first part, which is less than 2 sentences, he's talking about Brit exit from the European Union. What does he say? He said the thing is rotten. We are going to exit. And they exited. They did not ask permission from other countries in Europe, in the European Union, to exit. They exited. And so fast forward, I'm sorry to say, he is a black man, but he understands very little about Africa. Absolutely nothing productive from what he's saying. Colonialism did not start in Africa. He's talking in the British Parliament. There was something called the British Empire, which extended to Africa, India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all these countries now. The British Empire has ceased to exist. They gave India independence. They gave Pakistan independence. They gave many other countries independence, including the African countries. There's nothing like one Africa, one nation. No, Africa was not a nation.
No,
Africa is a collection.
I understand that he could be mistaken there, but
No,
this
no,
is the point.
I'm trying to come. I know you. I'm just trying to get him for people to understand what I'm trying to say. Africa, the nations in Africa, no doubt, are the creation of colonialism. But can we undo that history? No, we cannot undo it. There's no way that Nigeria, for example, is going to dismantle its borders with Cameroon, or Ghana dismantle their borders with Togo. That's the reality.
Why? That's the question. Why?
Because colonialism, as I said in my comment there, colonialism did not start with Africa. It did not start today. There was something called the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire covered the whole of Europe. It didn't even come to Africa. That was colonialism in the raw sense of it. The Romans colonized so much of Europe. The important thing for us is not to say why they cannot do this, why cannot do this. What do we do going forward? Can Africa survive? And should Africa survive on the creation of the colonial authorities? Yes. The United States, where you and me live, the original 13 colonies, British colonies, they were colonized by the British. Canada was colonized by the British. But they have long passed the history of colonization and they have decided to forge their own way ahead. America is stronger than the UK. There's no doubt about that, economically, military, and otherwise. You see, what we do all the time is we are weeping over spilled milk. And let me, I've tried to analyze this in this way. We seem to think, we forget we're all Africans. And I believe a good number of us are married. When you get married, you are asserting your independence from your father and your mother, be he a man or woman. If you decide to get married, and you go back to ask your mother, Mommy, how many children should I make with my wife? That's a failed marriage. You're not qualified to marry. If you get married and you decide to live in your father's bedroom, you're not yet mature. Once you are married, you take your own hurt, you chart your own life, you make children where you want to make them, you build your own house the way you want to build it. You don't go blaming your father for not doing you a favor to make your house. Again, going forward, and this pertains to our case, I've seen so many Ambazonians. They talk of Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism. What is Pan-Africanism? There cannot be any Pan-Africanism, for example, as far as Ambazonia is concerned, without Pan-Ambazonia. What does Pan-Ambazonia mean? Somebody should go to leave Batibo, go to Kumbo, leave Womb, come to Victoria, sell or buy whatever thing they want to buy. If we don't have this Trans-Ambazonia, how do you want to talk about Trans-Africa? And so this guy seems to be blaming the colonial master for everything that he did. But I can tell you, I'm not an apologist of colonialism. What the colonial master even left with us, who have destroyed it. For one thing,
You, you,
across
you,
all colonialism,
you were
the
almost
US,
sounding like an apologist of colonialism.
yeah, let me make this last point. You see, all the colonial masters we have been talking about, be them British, be them French, be them Portuguese, they will rule us until they left in the 60s. None of them was wearing diapers. They didn't wear diapers. They left us countries, they left us leaders who have grown old enough, they are wearing diapers and they're still there. They're wearing diapers and they are still there. So what do you expect, for example, what do you expect the Queen of England or the Prime Minister of England to do to Buhari? You can't send him away? We throw 130 50 million people in Nigeria? Yeah, because they colonize them. This guy, for example, Buhari has been president. He has a presidential pension. He has a military pension. Of the 130 million people in Nigeria, they cannot find somebody else to rule the country but a diaper-wearing old man. And then you blame Great Britain? In Cameroon, of 30 million people they talk about, we cannot find a leader among them, despite the fact that we have all these degrees. And we expect France to come and take away Paul Biya. We have a university in Yaoundé opened in 1962. There's something they call CUS. That's Centre Universitaire de Santé, whatever thing. It has been there. That's a medical school. They cannot even train a good surgeon. And you blame France? What people here who come on Ambazonia, come on ABC and other places in Cameroon and call
But
them
Steve,
professors in history.
this is where perhaps I could disagree with you. There was a sense in or an aspect of his rhetoric that is insinuating that the colonial masters or imperialists do not even want to give us the chance. I know you may want to argue that we will have to take it by force, but that's what Ambazonia has been trying to do for 6 years now. And you know what is happening?
They don't give people chances for independence. Independence is fought and won. The Americans fought for the independence. They defeated Great Britain. They didn't go begging, clapping hands to them. No, they don't need to give you the opportunity. No, you have to do what you have. I've given the example, some examples. You and me come from former West Cameroon. I'm not sure you're old enough to know that. When the British left, there were not many roads, but there were a few roads. Those roads were very narrow, but they had some tire there. That tire on that narrow road. What happened down the road? We could not even expand the tire. Instead, we removed the tire that they left, throw it away, brought mud and filled the holes, and were unable to fill the very potholes that we created ourselves. she will bear responsibility. She will ask Britain to bear responsibility for that. No. The British colonialism was an economic adventure. It was the discovery, it was the industrial revolution that led to revolution. They were doing economic revolution. But again, we can all agree when the colonialists left Africa in the 1960s, Cameroon did not have oil. We now have oil. Nigeria was not producing oil. They are not producing oil. And so if you produce your oil, I don't know how to sell it, you don't know what to do, you don't blame the man who is taking it from you for nothing. You have to assert your own right. That is what it is. Like it or not, that is what it is. The colonial guy will not come to rebuild your own place for you.
Let's get this straight. Do you really think Africans cannot do business, real business themselves?
They refused to do it. That's what I'm giving the example. You have all this chunk of educated people, Professor A, B, C, D. Okay, I mean, I don't know how I can illustrate this. In Cameroon, we have university teachers, we have secondary school teachers who have some money they call research allowance. They are taking this money called research allowance to do what research? And what is the result of the research? Do you expect a British man to come and show you how to do the research? When I was in boy, something happened to me very interestingly to us. You know, the mountains erupt once in a while. And then they have some people in the Ministry of Mines and Power in Yaoundé, whatever it is called there. From time to time, they came to Boer to go up the mountain to claim to measure the temperature of the mountain. What would they measure the temperature of the mountain with their common eyes? They didn't have any instrument. And yet they are going to measure the mountain? They expect the British, the Germans, to buy those things for them. Again, he had mentioned the African Union. Just imagine, let us call in its own terms, Africa was one nation, whatever thing. This is a whole African nation that created an African organization called AOU in 1963 or 64. We are now 2022. They are unable to build a headquarters for that thing. They had to go beg money from the Chinese to go and build it for them. In 1960, when they were having independence, China was not better than Cameroon. So the whole African Union cannot be a head office for themselves. They have to go and bring the Chinese to come and borrow the money to build it. And then you blame Great Britain, you blame France, you blame all these people. No. That's not how it works. That's why my vision is, if they were, I don't know how to get to Boya. We will get to Boya. Ambazonia, 5 million people. We don't need to be 50 million to be powerful. Israel is not even up to 2 million. So we can do things for yourself. How is it that in Yaoundé, the man who takes over the security of the presidency in the Tudi, there are Israelis, how many of them are there in the whole of Israel? They are not even up to the town of Douala. And we have all these military schools in left and right, sending people to France, to ABC military schools. For what? To come and get money. Yes, we'll kill our own banks. And what do? We'll carry the money in buckets and go and hide them in European banks. So if you're a European bank, an African brought his box of money, you drive him with the money, you gladly take and put it in your bank. Whatever they left to us, look at Africa he's talking about. They left a country, for example, called Sudan. Sudan was one of the largest countries in Africa. It had all these resources, what they call now Southern Sudan. There are minerals there. They destroyed it themselves through bad government, dictatorship, and destruction.
There's no imperialist influence in that calculated destruction?
Now, el-Bashir, who was the president of Sudan, when the Southern Sudanese started asking for a federation, asking for this and that, good governance at the time, he did not see. Maybe when I consulted Britain, when I consulted France, why did he need to go and do that? You and me talking here, I think we went to primary school. We used to be hear something that civilization started in Egypt. Where is it today? Where is it? Civilization started in Egypt. Again, in this very forum here, let me land this point. We'll be sitting here every day talking about the Boros and the Fulanis. Let me finish. Let me make this point, sir. We'll be sitting here every day talking about the Boros and the Fulanis fighting over grazing land, bringing people to kill one another. These are all Ambazonians. These two that are 22. So, for the past 50 years, we have not learned how to rear cows on a small space. We still go on with what the wild man before he came. You get one man in Congo like who will follow all the cows through all the whole area, going 50 miles. The farmer grazing issue will never end until you learn to divide that mile. Say, look, you have to graze your 50 cows, 100 cows on a 1 square kilometer space. And how will you do it? What they call the fodder, the
Right?
grass. You grow that
I think
grass
that
and give it to them.
this is what I think. I think things like that are enhanced through education. And it brings us back again to a necessary concern and debate. Amazonians, even at a basic level, the war, the immediate causes of the war, the ongoing war, was because we thought it necessary to question the education that was being infiltrated. So you find people, the encyclopedia, the academia globally, and especially in French Africa, is properly tailored, calculated for a purpose. I watched the video, I think on Ochiba's where I was just looking at that video to stream it so that we can enhance the discussion from there. And it was saying we have been trained to remember, not to think. That's the education that has been forced in Africa. And this can be compared to be true. Look at China. How long did it take for China to totally transform? And how did it transform? Every country that has transformed, China, Japan, that has woken up from a fall to a rise, they had to revisit their education. And because we thought that we should question our education, we were maimed. The Kintasan Wilfred is in jail today because he manned that movement, enhanced it, and led it. So when you look at it from that direction, you realize that there is a collective, calculated attempt to make sure that these people stay where they are. Because if we're fighting now, it's because we are desirous of change. So pushing and setting the blame again all on us might be too much of a blame on us.
No, I think you are. I think you are dead. I think you are dead wrong. Dead wrong. We have the bad education. Yeah, we have the bad education in place. But this bad education is not the fault of France or Great Britain. They just go back to the beginning of the struggle. What happened to the university students in Boya? They were up in the mud. Who was the rector of that university? It was one of us. It was not France ordering her to do that. This is a professor with a PhD who opened the University of Boya in the first place, the first rector.
And that
Madame
professor
Gioma.
is just a stooge.
If it's a stooge, what I'm saying is that if you choose to be a stooge,
of a script. That's the point
can
I
make
want
yourself.
to make.
If they give you all the education in the world, and you decide to imprison yourself, you will remain a prisoner. So if we have a university, there are so many of them now in Cameroon called them government universities. For example, you remember that there was a Gwambala who was giving some part-time lectures in the University of Boya. He lost the job. It was not France that ordered him to be dismissed. It was one of his. Why? For stating a question that was related to Cameroon history. Was it France doing that? No. It's a sycophants of a regime. Like we have been finding here, I guess Professor Ngo is watching me. He's a professor. They call him that by that rank. He's a historian. He has made a PhD there. He comes on all these media in Cameroon and gives a distorted history. Is it France asking him to do that? No. He's just been, there are many of them. A guy in Ngole who teaches whatever political history in a professional school in Yaoundé. He comes out and gives on video distorted history. Is it the French telling him to do that? No. He's doing that for his own selfish reason. He wants to get a promotion.
This is what I know what you're trying to do is to make us to, like the U.S. president said, don't ask what your nation has done for you. I think that was Kennedy, but ask what you have done to your nation. But then this is a good thought, but it is debatable. Your opinion is good to make us to take responsibilities, like telling a child take responsibility, but it is also debatable. What I'm saying is circumstances, the environment, what you will call a grammar conducive environment. There is an enabling environment that is we're aware. The question would be if they themselves, you are as an international lawyer, you know the laws that are enshrined in international law and that support the right for self-determination. But you find us as a people wanting to exist, and even the actors or globalization enabling actors are not even for us. They have the powers in places that be to restrict us either in the media, restrict us either from having resources to defend ourselves. And we would have to go through a lot. Many lives will have to be lost. So the argument is extensive. I get your point in that. But then I also think that we must look at it from the two sides. Why we encouraging our people? That's what I think.
You're right, but this is a problem that we fail to understand. This is a problem that we fail to understand all the time. Nobody is making an apology for the colonialists. No, at their time they did what they could. Good, but I'm a product of the colonial system. I went to school in the 60s, so I know what I'm talking about. But they left. If you are thinking that somebody will come from England, from Japan, and give you independence, lie. No independence has ever been given to people, even by the colonialists. You saw how they fought in Syria, how they killed people in Cameroon, Douala, Bassa, to prevent them from getting independence. You have to fight for it. When you fight for it, the international community does not give you independence. They recognize what you have done. They recognize you for fighting for this independence. Who does not? I don't know how many of us remember Bangladesh. The first prime minister of Bangladesh was Sheikh Mujib Rahman. He won the independence from Pakistan in the 1970s. I saw that thing. He came out of jail in tattered dresses, and the world was clapping for this tattered prisoner, Sheikh Mujib Rahman. I saw it with my own physical eyes. Something someone told me. So independence is not giving. It is recognized when you merit it, when you have proven that you are strong. And that's what we're trying to do. You just mentioned about the talks. You think if Dion Guto is convening a discussion in Toronto, in Japan, in Addis Ababa, it is because he likes it? No. It is because they are facing the fire. The heat is on them. The heat is not because people are demonstrating in Kumba, in Bamenda, and anywhere. No. So
in essence, you're saying that we just press the heat so that they get confused, and after lingering, they'll finally land where
I think the president and those who deal, I think the president and those who deal with the president and those who deal with diplomacy will tell you that when they talk to foreign diplomats privately, they sympathize with us. They know what we're doing. They sympathize with us. What they are saying, I guess, is simply we have not yet reached a point. Because
diplomacy,
as far as we're concerned,
it's like
those embassies that you are looking for,
all
the embassies,
they sympathize with diplomacy in our barrister team.
No, a game is a game. It's a game. And this is the point. This is what I wanted to make. There's no country.
Come in the light and then
No, there's no country that we are looking for a recommendation from, which for now does not have an embassy in Yaoundé. They have the embassies in Yaoundé. So they have an interest there already. For them to switch over that thing or argue to a different panel, you require to. They didn't create the embassy in Yaoundé. They didn't create the embassies. Yeah, they didn't create the embassies in Yaoundé for Southern Cameroonians. They created because they have some interest there. So if you just pay, for example, the United States to just close the embassy in Yaoundé and say, okay, these ambassadors in the United States will support them, they're not going to do it. But you know what we're doing? We're moving to the Americans did not just close the embassy in Khartoum and go to Southern Sudan. They supported Southern Sudan referendum, but they maintained the embassy in Khartoum. And so you're expecting them. That was my point last time when I was talking here about bishops and priests. You expect the Pope to go and take his gun and fight for you? The Pope is not going to go to the bush and fight in, in Bangam, in Manfred. No,
Nothing will happen like that.
he's not going to do it. But he's aware of what is happening.
Yeah.
So if you know what you expect from them, push it. In fact, in 2016, would even have this publicity that the international community is even saying. Why are they asking the world for us, everybody, go to the conference table with that precondition and address the root causes? They know what is going on. As I told you here, you think that when the Pope hears that they have killed their priest, their bishop, they will just keep quiet? No. They're not just going to keep
Said it
quiet.
like a prophet. And a few minutes later on, we actually
Yes. So,
saw.
and those things, the statements from the Papa, the statement from the papacy, from the Vatican, they have meaning. Even just a statement, their rosary or their Bible, the whole, it has a lot of meaning.
Okay, very
So
quickly
we're
before we
fighting the
start.
right war. We're
Yeah.
fighting the right war. We're doing the right thing. We just need patience. The president has said this many times. We don't know any revolution that has gone this far in less than 5 years. Ours is one of the
Okay.
fastest.
Yeah, but the team, when you talk about fastest, you have to give to us facts and figures on what makes it fastest, what has been achieved, at what level are we when it comes in terms of recognition, because everything you'll be talking here is about us forcing ourselves to be recognized. And that is a debate that may take us much longer than I'd expect or the time we have allocated for this. But then something interesting is coming. The interim government, the president from his office has just signed a document giving the stand of the interim government when it comes to the so-called whatever Canada conference. So I'm just going to read out this press release to those watching us. It says the position, the press release was released this day, Thursday, 6th October 2022. Reference number Federal Republic of Amazonia. Okay, that is left for those who will be reading. But then it's captioned the position of the interim government regarding the meeting convened in Canada. I believe this is timely because it's going to clear out some of those who took out of proportion. It any grammar, Pastor, Barrister team is very difficult. We sent out a handbill yesterday with the president saying the interim government position on this and the backdoor talks with La Republique. Now people took it out of proportion and were interpreting the grammar. When I listened to the person, I wanted to react directly. I'm like, when somebody is so low in understanding, if you react, it might just be a waste of energy. But this press release is timely, so I'm going to read it out, and then we will have the president any moment from now elaborating wider on it. Many people are coming in, and the co-host, please help us to let people in. We have close to 150 people already in the Zoom. That's interesting. Keep rushing it. Rushing it is 9 minutes after 9 p.m. And we have a lot of people also watching on Facebook. As soon as we're done or they indicate, we will be dropping off the stream on Facebook and on YouTube because the president wants to have an interaction with you, not so that you can watch TV. But the team is just indicating something to me.
No,
Okay, I
that's
think
okay.
that
It was a mistake.
okay, that's fine. So the press release goes thus. It says the interim government is aware of a meeting that has been convened in the days ahead in Canada early next week, involving a non-governmental group of individuals from La République du Cameroon and some Ambazonian actors. It should be noted that because of La République du Cameroon's outright rejection of the Swiss-led process, Switzerland pulled out as the mediator of any possible talks between Amazonia and La République du Cameroon. For credibility purposes, for a third-party nation to step up as a mediator of a conflict like ours with an international dimension, it is necessary for the prospective mediator to be mandated by both sides of the conflict. In this case, the Federal Republic of Amazonia, represented by the interim government and other actors, and La République du Cameroon, represented by the colonial government of Cameroon. We are not sure of the role of the government of Canada with regards to the upcoming meeting because Canada has not been officially mandated by either side to take up a mediation role in the ongoing conflict as of the date of this press release. The interim government can, however, say categorically that we did not give a mandate to Canada to serve as mediator. In order to avoid manipulation, the nonchalant and non-committed attitude of La République du Cameroon regarding any talks or negotiation, the interim government proceeds as follows. Number one, there must be an official commitment by both sides, Federal Republic of Amazonia and La République du Cameroon, to follow through with the talks after a mediator is mandated. Number two, the elected mediator must make it officially known to all national and international stakeholders that they have taken up that role. Number three, the agenda, date, and venue of any talks must be mutually agreed to by both sides with the help of the mediator. Number four, the mediator convenes the meeting, not either of the two parties. She must be willing to guarantee the security of all participants. Number five, any such talks must be between two delegations, one representing the La République du Cameroon, officially appointed by its leader, and the other representing the Federal Republic of Amazonia, officially constituted to be led by the interim government and made up of stakeholders of our liberation movement. Number six, representation by both sides at the table shall be based on national and hierarchical equity. The interim government of the Federal Republic of Amazonia is not interested in direct informal talks with any group of people who come in the name of La République du Cameroon without a cabinet level appointee from the government of La République du Cameroon heading their delegation. All prospective mediation talks concerning this genocidal war must follow official procedures and must be public knowledge. Signed, Samuel Ikome Sako, PhD, President, Federal Republic of Amazonia. This is quite interesting. And this will lead us to the last minutes of our discussion. Paris and team, I'm trying to guess what you want to say because you always take very serious issues like this and you just make them sound so simple. But then maybe I should link this. We had Akuru the other day criticizing the president for the Swiss-led process, insinuating that it was somehow not a multilateral process. It was not a what did he say? It's not for a conflict like ours. I don't know where he learned that. Everybody in Amazonia suddenly becomes a professor when it comes to issues, related issues like this. Now, John Baakuru tells Amazonians the mistake the interim government was doing is we need multi-mediators to handle such an issue. But you have a great understanding of the Swiss-led process. I'd like you to react to that statement of John Ba Akuro with the understanding of what the president has just sent out now?
I think if I can waste my time talking about John Ba Akuro, it's not good time to be wasted on him. And I hope he's watching us. I've talked to John Ba Akuro. I've called him privately and discussed some of these issues with him. He doesn't seem to know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. There's no conflict with multi negotiators. No, I don't imagine one in the world. There's not one mediator who sits in the middle and mediates. You don't bring 5, 6 mediators with different interests. That said, we don't need to waste our time there because I don't have time to waste with John Ba Akuro. John Ba Akuro is a freelancer. He's an activist. The future of Ambazonia, politically and militarily, is not going to be left to activists. No, never. Activists can play their role, but they are not going to take the leadership of the struggle in any form or shape because they are just what they are. They are freelancers. They vomit out what comes out of their minds. Sweet or bitter, they say it and walk away. John Ba Akuro, for example, where is his consortium? From where? He leads the consortium from where?
That is the
And John Ba
big,
Akuro, John Ba Akuro is not even a guy. John Ba Akuro is not. John Ba Akuro is not a guy that anybody should take him serious. This John Ba Akuro, who went on video and announced that La Republique had captured Sisi Ayoktabe, killed him and threw him in the ocean. It would have been a lie. He never apologized. He never apologized. Again, let me just say something about what is in the that's the most important thing, the document the president has signed. I don't need to comment on it. But I just want to say one thing. That Yaoundé, if they have not learned, they will learn going forward. That Fumban will never repeat itself under Sako or under any meaningful Ambazonia. Fumba will never repeat itself. What do I mean? Ayuju convened his meeting in Fumban. I'm not sure Foncha's government had any option there. They convened the meeting. Ahijo was the chairman of the meeting. He closed the meeting when he wished. That will never happen again going forward. That's a summary. They should forget. They can go to heaven. They can go to hell. They can talk with whoever they wish. I've said earlier, they have talked before to everybody they wanted. They even went and consulted France in Paris. And if they can have any take-home lesson, even from their supporters. Wilbur told them one thing popularly in Parliament, that when the Anglophones, he called them, shall rise up, all the Cameroon army plus France will not be able to subdue them. That's the truth that Wilbur told them. And let them try. They have tried. They have not succeeded. So on negotiations, I think the document signed is a summary of what any reasonable Ambazonian should say. Again, Yaoundé, if you're following us, have it in your head. Paris, if you're following us, have it in your head. Britain, if you're following us, have it in your head. Fumban that you sing every day will never repeat itself anymore. Fumban was dead and buried in back 20, 30 years ago. We're not going to survive it. We're not going to follow the footprints of Fumban anymore. Even if Sako dies, if I die, if anybody rises up from Ambazonia, everything that we'll do will be done rightly, not on the dictates of whoever is sitting in Yaoundé, be it Nifrundi even. That is not going to work. It did not work, and we realized it. As again, I end it here. That was a colonial period. We have taken hold of ourselves. We're not going to blame Fancha. We're not going to blame Ahijo. We're not going to blame Ndele for what happened in Fumban. We have taken hold of the struggle, and that will not repeat itself.
And we're hitting it big. Yeah, fellow Ambazonians watching us, Pastor Tim, just a moment. When you're talking like that, it's getting so sweet, and our time is getting so short.
Okay.
We hope continue to do this. As you government officials, as you join the link, please. We are making some of you co-hosts help to invite more people. We're about hitting 200. The target is 500 tonight. It's important because the president's about to say something really important. Why not 1,000? So the revealed means and principle is for you to share in all of your catchments and indicate with a hand if you're a government official or a county chair, just indicate with a hand and you will be made a co-host. You get into your constituencies and tell your people it's time to listen to the president. The Zoom is Ambazonians are rushing in excitedly, and we want many more people to join to come in. So please continue to do that. Thank you for helping Chief Oben to make them co-host. Thank you for that. We are following now. Let's get back to the discussion as we populate. I'm looking forward for Professor Ayim. Professor Ayim, at any time you deem it necessary that we should stop this discussion, or if the Chief of Staff is in the meeting and you think it's time for us to stop this discussion. Okay, Barrister Fru's hand is up. You have a couple, Professor Epote. Yes, we can see Professor Epote's hand is up. Ma Dorothy Ngwa's hand is up. Please kindly make all of them co-host so that they can invite many more people in. Please, as the co-hosts are coming in, try not to unmute yourself because we're broadcasting live. I think the Chief of Staff or Professor Ayim can indicate to us when they think or deem fit that we can stop this section of the discussion and get people and get the meeting started.
In 10 minutes, please.
That's amazing. Thank you for giving us that cue. Thank you very much. Okay. Ambazonians, you've heard that Barrister Tim and myself we have just 10 minutes to, and it's getting sweet. Now, Barrister Tim, I want to cue you in. You just said never again. That is the summary of what you're saying. Never again. Not this.
Your volume.
Can you hear me now?
Very low.
Okay. Maybe I should try to raise it. Can you hear me now? Is it much better?
Still low.
Perhaps you want to check your device. Can you hear me again now?
No, it's so low.
Okay, I'm gonna try to.
Yeah, that's okay now.
Okay, I think okay, just leave the mouse on the console so that I can work on this volume. But that team is talking about. I suspected someone tampering. Okay, we're doing a lot of setting at the same time. So let me cue you in. You just said never again. Kumban conference will never happen again. You said so. Please, everyone logging in, please mute yourself so that you do not interfere the broadcast. Thank you. Okay, I will help some of us to do that so that we can write on the break. Okay. Yeah, Barrister, perhaps you want to mute that device. There's a device you have there. Just
Okay,
get out of the audio of it, and that will make it easier for us. So conclusively, yes, in conclusion, I want you have about, let's say, 2 minutes to do that. Do you think, or in spite of what some would want to call divide, I know you're an advisor of the government. If you would have to advise this government, because at the end of the day, we need to synergize. We need to be able to talk some sense into these actors. If actually they are fighting for Ambazonia, some believe that the Akurus and the Akwangas are fighting for La République du Cameroon, not for an independent Amazonia. But whatever be the case, they are still claiming to be Ambazonia. Do you think that there is any chance for us to have a more inclusive front? No, inclusive is a wrong word. Um, we can by any means, because the president has an inclusive policy. So if I'm insinuating that, then I'm wrong. But do you think that there is any chance for us to get some of these noisemakers? Because that's what I think. Forgive me if I'm using the harsh word Amazonians, but I think there are more noisemakers, like the man calling himself the consortium. Do you think there's any chance because they want to belong. Some of their problem is they want to belong. But then again, they sabotage every platform that is created for their belonging. Is there any chance this government could consider and reconsider getting them involved again as we forge ahead? Perhaps to quiet the noise and to quench some of the conflicts they are inciting within our ranks, even at the home front.
Let me assure you this. I'm not an expert, but I can assure you this. All these people are existing just because the rare opportunity to sit down and talk has not arisen. For example, let us go back to the Swiss-led initiative. And let us take Jamba Akuru, who has been a critic of the whole thing. If the Swiss-led initiative was to move forward tomorrow, I would say, Mr. Jamba Akuru, give us two experts, because it's not Jamba Akuru who will sit on the table and talk. Jamba Akuru will produce nobody. He will produce nobody, I can assure you. So if the real opportunity came, you find them, some of them, rushing to join this IG. Because even though you have all those groups there, they privately recognize that the IG is a joker holder. They know that. Just ask them the simple question. Choyaba has been working with Yaounde all this time. That's a fact. What has he produced? Nothing. You think if independence came tomorrow, Choyaba will not jump on the street and say, I brought it? He would want to, but he cannot bring it. Akwanga, these are people who call themselves leaders, has told us himself that he negotiated with Bankwi in Ghana. What came out of it? Nothing. But he has come out again in another audio and said, look, God did not make a mistake to make 5 fingers and they are not all the same. There's a lot of meaning in that. So they're only taking advantage of Yaounde's dragging their feet. They will all go to Toronto, just like they went for the CDN, hoping to make an impact. A year after CDN, what are the people of the CDN telling you? What is the product after 1 year? Silently, they said the Tinsako was right to boycott that nonsense. But they are human beings. They will not come out and just say, well, I mean, I was wrong. They will not do it. They are ashamed of themselves. So don't worry about that. No liberation movement has ever had one camp. And by illustration, the ones that we know so commonly is Zimbabwe. When they were fighting in Rhodesia, everybody was trying to abolish apartheid. But there were no less than 5 different groups there. The Manango Sitoli, Archbishop Ebe Mozorowa, and so on and so on. They all went to Lancaster Sheikh's talks in factions. Even the ZANU went there as a group, but they got there and broke off. And Mogabo created ZANU PF, Patriotic Front, there. And they came out and all those people disappeared. What have you heard about in the Manangi Sitole? What have you ever heard about Archbishop Ebe Mozorowa, who was even the prime minister under Ian Smith? Those are they are blowing thin air. It is time to show this. Let all of them exist. Let Maranta be there. Let Anu be there. The time for delivery is coming. And we'll see who delivers the goods. That's not time
Just
for
call
manipulation.
Marietta, some Amazonians will pick you out of the screen and send you into the Zoom and mute you until the show today ends. Now, I just said that as a way to cut you. I'm seeing Barrister Fro on the Zoom. If I knew he was not working today, I think he would have been part of this discussion. Amazonians are missing him big time. Yet, Barrister Fro, this discussion, it is true that you and I cannot exhaust it. Let's listen to the president today and perhaps show up again Saturday pre-draft for Ndian with most probably Barrister Fro and others. I hope I'll be able to have Barrister Ghana. We will take whatever the president will be answering today, add it with this press release, and get to educate our people. The good thing I've gotten from you is that whatever Akuro, the lesson is trying to give to the people of Ambazonia in sabotage of the Swiss-led process is a fallacy. Thank you very much, sir, for being a part of this program. I think you would like to join the Zoom now. Ambazonians, I'll leave you with this video from our mothers, and so do you have an understanding of the endeavors they are doing. And anytime they want me to cut it off, I'll cut it. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
Fellow citizens of the world,
Arise and shine.
Arise for my people.
For Ambazonia.
Stand up for their oppressed.
Arise and stop the war now.
We are referring to all black people scattered around the globe.
For men and women of color, the statistics of mass killings in our U.S. communities are alarming.
We cannot underestimate the power of our connections. Our history as black people is intricately linked. We have been subjected to violence, mass killings, and dehumanization due to racism and black on black violence.
Have you ever been in a place where 2-month-old babies are killed with live ammunition, where babies are fried in hot boiling oil?
Our guns, turned at each other, are cutting our destinies short and bringing untold misery to our families and friends.
These are the realities of my homeland.
The question is, can politicians and celebrities do something to end mass killings?
The actual lives lost to these mass murders, does it bother you? Does it bother your humanity? Then you, senators and governors, can help turn our whispers into a roar.
When we the people, as millions of united, passionate, loving people, blend our voices together as one voice to send a booming message to leaders throughout the world that we will accept no more killings, brutality, or tyranny. We will end mass killings.
On October 1st, 1961, the former British Southern Cameroons was recolonized by France through its proxy, La République du Cameroon, which remains a colony of France to date. After decades of marginalization, President Biya of La République du Cameroon waged war on the people of the former British Southern Cameroons, also known as Ambazonia, on November 30th, 2017.
If you take a closer look, it is France supporting and sustaining these wicked acts because of the natural resources of Ambazonia.
Recently, we lost the longest ruling monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. She's being revered for her personal achievements for Great Britain. In Africa, she's being remembered for some very dark period of Britain's relationship with colonial rule, her failure or negligence to right those wrongs.
As the world mourns Queen Elizabeth II today, perhaps for her good works, our nation, Ambazonia, mourns her unfinished business, the botched decolonization of our territory, the root cause of the genocidal onslaught today. Is it not globalization that is preached to us every day? Was it not globalization that spoke out for Ukraine? Why is it that the same globalization is not at work to save the lives of Ambazonia?
Rise up, men and women of God's creation.
Please join in the movement to end this unwarranted violence and mass killings.
Be an advocate for the movement of change for peace and justice.
You, Mr. and Miss Senator, and governors can whisper a loud message to President Biden to go after the truth. We will cover you with our prayers.
To save the world from destruction, to close the inequality gap within and amongst countries.
This is a movement, a call to action.
Join the movement.
Visit and sign the petition on change.org. Stop mass killings in Ambazonia and the world.
10 voices for the voiceless.
Fellow Ambazonians, on this day, 5 years ago, we all rose as one nation to assert the independence of our beloved country, Ambazonia. This solemn act of restoration was our collective resolve to finally terminate 6 decades of annexation, colonization, and subjugation by our eastern neighbor, La République du Cameroon, which had held us in a chokehold all this while. Some enlightened leaders had attempted to do this in the past for the people. Individuals like Fon Gojidinka and Justice Alobwede, but without groundswell support. This time, the people decided to do it for the leaders. That's why this is the people's fight. Several attempts by our forebears to release us as a people from this stranglehold were either ignored, ridiculed, or violently suppressed. Many of them were assassinated and some died in dungeons, serving life sentences handed down to them by La République du Cameroon colonial kangaroo courts, if they were lucky at all to have their day in court. As I address you today, more than 50,000 of our compatriots, mostly civilians going about their daily lives, have been massacred by French Cameroon. Going by these figures, on average, at least 27 of our citizens are massacred every single day these past 5 years, meaning more than one Ambazonian is killed every hour from the day we restored our independence. Putting this in perspective, before I finish addressing you tonight, at least one Ambazonian civilian must have been summarily murdered by French Cameroon soldiers, just for being Ambazonian. This genocidal war declared on us by the 90-year-old dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017 is raging, and our people are going through this horror in pain and in plain sight while the world watches on. This is our reality daily. Let us, on this solemn national occasion, remember all our fellow compatriots who have been killed during these 6 years of resistance, our self-defense forces who volunteered to take the front line to defend our people against this barbarism, and the thousands of innocent civilians massacred some burnt alive in their homes. A moment of silence, please. We all lay our wreaths on the graves we know, and for all our innocent ones abducted, killed, and buried in unknown graves, we say rest in power. Permit me to say Happy Independence Day to you all, Ambazonians. I invite all the nations of the world to join us as we celebrate our Independence Day as scripted on the charters of the United Nations.
Happy Independence Day to the people of British Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. I urge the world to stand up against injustice being done to the people of Ambazonia. Free Ambazonia. Fijne onafhankelijkheidsdag aan de mensen in British Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Ik vraag de wereld op te staan tegen het onrecht aan de mensen in Ambazonia. Free Ambazonia. Happy Independence Day to the people of British Southern.
Today, the 1st of October 2022. Now with this, the Black Lions of Bamali. Today, the 1st of October 2022. With the areas of Ngokotunja, the Black Lions of Bamali under General Colombo, under FM Sagon, under the leadership of Dr. Sako Samuel Ekome. We will send this information to our president, Dr. 2022. In Ngokotunja Live, the areas of Ngokotunja under Dr. Samuel Sako Ekome, lead by FM Sagon, the only FM Sagon, the only FM. 1st October 2022. Live of Goudron. This from A road from Bezam to Bui. Now with the areas of Ngokotunja, we get them.
We the people, ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Amba.